Hey guys, today we're going to go back and we're going to revisit a pattern I did quite a while back. It's my bluegill pattern. Now the last time I did that, I think I just kind of did a simple one. Today we're going to use a wrap. We're going to do it on a 2.5 square bill, and before we're done, we're going to use 11 different colors of paint. Stick with me. We're going to start out here. As I said, we're going to do this bluegill pattern. I've put the base coat on first. And the reason, there we go, I'll shut that back off. I put the base coat on first because I'm going to put a wrap on it, and I want to make sure this is really dry. So here's what we did, and I mentioned we're going to have a lot of coats of paint on here. We start out with Createx Opaque Black. I painted the entire thing black. Now I came back, and actually I'm using Walmart, some Walmart Candy Apple Red. And what I do there is I just use a Q-tip, get some paint, and just dab some paint on with the Q-tip. Don't get it thick. It's got to be real thin. If nothing else, you might put it on, dry it, and come back and do it again. But you got to keep that thin so you don't get it too thick on here. And once you have the red paint on, you're going to have to dry it and dry it real well. Because you're not spraying it on, because you're putting it on with a Q-tip, or if you use a brush, whatever you're going to use, you're going to have the paint a little thicker. And because it's a little thicker, it's going to take a lot longer to dry. In some cases, you may want to do this, hang it up for the night, and come back the next day and start the next day. But that's why I went ahead and got a head start on this before we get ready to move on any farther. So what we're going to do next, we have the base coats on, the black and the red. We're going to come back with a wrap. Here's the wrap I'm using. This came from the floral department at Hobby Lobby. I'm sorry, it had no tag on it as to what they call a name on it. All it had was a small tag with a price on it. So floral department, Hobby Lobby is where I got this wrap. It's not real big, so it's barely long enough to handle the lures. And actually, sometimes it doesn't even cover way up here by the head. But we're just going to bring that up, get a grip, pull it in tight. And as I said, when I do mine, I use a little different than everybody else. I've been using hairbreadths. Again, I got it at Hobby Lobby, and I haven't had any problem with that. I've been getting them good and tight. You notice it won't come down real tight on the head, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that part. There we go. We got our wrap on. So now the first thing we're going to do before we start painting the lure itself is we're going to paint it white. In order to get our eventual colors to come out looking good, you have to do that on a white base. You can't do it on a base like this because the colors won't come out very well. So let me load the gun up with some white and we'll move on. So for the base, we are going to use Createx Opaque White. That's our next color. That will be color number 3. Everything's going to get a good coating, and in order to cover that black and that white, you're going to have to put it on. You may have to put it on once, dry it a little, come back and do it again. So it's going to take a little bit to get that black and that red covered up. Alright, there we go. Got everything done with the white. And we're going to move on to the next step. Our next color, Createx Pearlized White. This will be color number 4 we're using. Now this one you could probably skip if you want. I like to use it. The belly of this lure is going to be our yellow and our orange, and I'm going to use transparents on the transparent yellow. And I've just found that if you put a pearlized white underneath a transparent, that pearlized does tend to show through just a little bit. So for a little effort it takes, I like to take the step and paint the belly pearlized white before I put my transparents on. Come up the side a little bit, it's not going to hurt. We're going to cover everything up in time. But it's really the belly that makes the most of the transparents, because that's where we use those. And that's all there is to it. Just a little pearlized white on the belly. That allows for that. Let me clean the gun out and we'll move on. Now, since I put the wrap on, I have not stopped to dry anything. I put the white on, I put the pearlized white on. I haven't bothered to put a heat gun on or dry anything, just letting it go. Our next step is the belly. We're going to go with Createx Transparent Bright Yellow. So we're going to go right over the top of our pearlized white, and we'll just go right up the belly. Get a good coat. Got to kind of work at it from both sides because of the clips in the way, but be sure you get up underneath there then. And that's our yellow belly. That's all we're going to do. Let me rinse this out real quick and we'll move on. Okay, we're still dealing in wet paint. Haven't dried anything. Cleaned the deal out. Now we're going Createx Transparent Orange. And we're going to do that right up in front, about back to where the hook eye is for your front hook. We're shooting more towards the bill, letting it bleed back a little as it wants to, so it'll kind of taper itself back. Alright, there we go. Let me clean out again, and we'll move on. Let's see, what color was that, by the way? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 6 colors. We've now used 6 colors. Alright, for color number 7, I still have not dried anything. Going back to Walmart, I like the Walmart Palm Leaf. It's like kind of a real light green. Again, the Walmarts are way too thick, so we had to thin it down some. I've got it thinned down, got it in the gun, and now we're just going to go right down over the top. We'll let it fade down along the side into that yellow a little. Make sure we get up in that nose area. Give it a good Alright, there is our palm green. And now, for the first time since I've started, I'm now going to dry everything. I'm going to get the heat gun and I'm going to put a good dry and get everything dried before we move on to the next step. We're all dry, hopefully. We'll find out in a while, huh? And I've moved it over to the helping hands to hold on to it here before our next step. Now we need to put on some stripes. So what I use, if you've seen it before, painter's tape, just regular painter's tape, masking tape. I use an X-Acto knife and I cut it into strips. And if you can see they're not straight, I try to make them a little wavy. And that will show through at the end. So in this case, I've got about a half dozen stripes. I get about 3 off each piece of tape. We're just going to pick those up and we're going to put them right over the top. Going to go just behind the gill plate here for the first one. You don't have to stick them down real hard, and they will stick mostly to the wrap we put on. That's the nice thing of using the tape when I have the wrap, is the tape sticks to the wrap, so I don't have to worry quite so much about it on the lure. And this is a 2.5, so usually you should be able to get 6 pieces, 5 or 6 on a 2.5, depending how far you space them. And I'll tell you what, we're going to do 5 on this one. We'll do 5 and call that good. Alright, let me get this out of the way. Now, let me get ready to load up some more paint. What are we up to? Number 7? 8? Number 8. This is paint number 8, right? We got Walmart again. English Ivy Green. darker colored green. Again, I had to mix it up because it's too thin. And we're just going to come right down the top over this. And we're going to cover everything we covered with the other green. Especially make sure on the head. We want to get that head, all the green, don't forget that nose. Alright, there we go. Now, we're going to dry that. We'll be right back. Alright, we got it good and dry. So let's take off our tape. And there we go. Boy, them's are some pretty bright stripes, aren't they? We'll get those muted down though. So, all right, where are we at right now? We've got, for colors, we had black and red. That's 2. We got opaque white, pearlized white. That's 4. We put on yellow, then orange is 6. Then we put on the leaf green, or the palm leaf, which is 7. And the English ivy green, which is 8. So right now we're up to 8 colors. So let's move on. And the next thing we're going to go with is Createx Pearlized Copper. Now this is one we got to start being a little careful. We don't want to turn this thing into copper colored fish or copper colored lure. So we're going to kind of stay off a ways. We're going to stay away from that belly, going to stay away from that head. We're just coming back here with the stripes, and we're just going to give it a light pearlize. You probably won't be able to see it too well, but I can, of what I'm getting, a pearlized over that lighter colored green. Back isn't real important. We're going to cover that with something later. Alright, there's our pearlized copper. We're going to stop with that. And let me wash up real quick and we're going to change colors. Here comes number 10. Createx Pearlized Magenta. This one be a little careful with now. This one's going to show up. So we don't want to get too carried away or you'll end up with a purple lure. If you can see, I'm quite a ways away. I'm not getting real close. Well, that's almost too much right there. Alright, that's good. We're going to stop right there. That was number 10. Let me do a real quick clean up here. Rinse that one out real quick. And now, number 11. Createx Pearlized Black. I used to use the opaque black, but I found I like the pearlized a little better, not only because it's pearlized, but it's not as dark. It's not a deep, dark color, it doesn't seem to me. We're going right down the back. We're going to stay away from the sides now. Let's not get carried away. All we're trying to do is hide the stripes at the top. And it'll automatically come down just a little bit. That's it. We're calling it good. Alright, let me clean out the gun. Let me get the heat gun, and we're going to put a really good dry on this because we're not going to pull that wrap off until we've got it good and dry. Alright, moment of truth. Here we go. Pull that off. Let's pull some pins out. Pull that back. Let's see what we got. There we go. You can see the stripes in there. Probably a little bit better on this side, possibly. See if I can get it farther away. Get it down to where you can see it better. We'll see if I can close up on that later. Alright, we're going to put a pair of red eyes in there. Put our top coat on. We'll see what we got when we get all done. Well, there we go, guys. The bluegill pattern in a 2.5 square bill. And as I said, we used 11 different types of paint in order to get that effect. Just remember now, when you're putting on that wrap, get it on there really tight. And then once you got the wrap on, put that coat of opaque white on there so that way all your lure colors will look correct with that white base underneath them. That's all I got for now. Thanks for sticking with me. Subscribe to our channel if you would. Hope to see you again real soon.